Hello ladies, continuing on from last week. If you didn't watch last week's and you have ADHD or think you might have ADHD, you probably want to go check that one out because I was specifically answering ADHD related questions. Okay, so I'm just going to continue along on that thread. So to start off today, this lady was asking about organization and keeping on track for all areas of life, but especially for business. And with this one, my absolute number one favorite tip is simplifying. Okay. And whether that means that you minimize, like actually declutter, get rid of stuff in your space, on your schedule. That is hugely helpful, especially if you have ADHD. But the less that you have to manage, the easier it is to manage, right? So that is like the quick answer, right? Simplify. You're more able to be organized when you have less to organize, is basically how that works. So all areas of life is like, I'll kind of like give some examples. That's really the best way I can answer this one. So when it comes to keeping track of like your kids' things, if they keep losing stuff and you're always in this scramble when you're ready to leave and you can't find their stuff. Again, simplifying, having less stuff, having them have less is actually a really easy way to make it simple. Also, having a home for everything. And if you have too much stuff, this is really difficult to do. But once you have decluttered enough that you don't have too much stuff, having a home for everything so that you know where it's supposed to be and your kids can learn where it's supposed to be is super helpful. If you don't actually have a place designated, my suggestion, and this is based on Dana K. White's theory or methods, and she talks about putting it where you would look for it, not where you should look for it. And I really love this because especially with ADHD, our brains are like, they're just not wired the same way, right? There's nothing wrong with our brains, but they're not wired the same way. And so basically, instead of like, okay, most people hang their keys by the front door, or, most people keep their tools in the shed or whatever. So I should put mine there. Instead of that, if you always go look under or on top of the bread box for your keys, make that where they live. Just make it actually a home for them instead of like you just toss them on there. So hang a little hook that they can hang on, right? And that might seem totally random, but when you apply that kind of across the board, it makes it really, really simple for you to remember, right? You've picked a home for it. So then either you will remember it sooner and put it there in the first place, or when you come across them at some point and you realize that you didn't put them away, you'll know exactly where to go put them so that you find them next time. And then also when you go to leave and you need your keys, there you go. My favorite example that she uses is keeping a screwdriver in the front hall because for some reason they always go there for a screwdriver. Who cares? Make a home for it, make it work, make it look pretty. So it doesn't have to be what other people would do, what other people think you should do, doing what works for you. And then just having less, right? And again, that is less with your physical stuff and less on your schedule. Both make your life a whole lot easier. Keeping on track, I'm an overscheduler. So this depends on your personality. Some people like to have a really loose flow to their day and just have it be like, okay, the first chunk of the morning, and there's not even a set amount of time. The first chunk of the morning we do this. The next chunk of the morning we do this. The third one, right after lunch we do this. And then the last half of the afternoon we're doing this, and in the evening it's this. And it's like a general topic, and you just kind of do whatever you feel like in that window. For myself, I hyper schedule everything, and that's, for me, that works really, really well. But again, with the ADHD, I am the hyperactive type of ADHD. So I'm like, go, 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 go. I'm like the Energizer Bunny and I can't stop. And so for me, having a checklist where I can be like, yep, did that, yep, did that, yep, did that. And then when I have those moments where I'm like, shoot, what was next? I know exactly what's on my schedule. Now, I don't sit there and look at my schedule all day long because that would take me as much time as actually doing this stuff. But I have it all listed out. That way, when I get to a pause in my day where I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Then I can go back and be like, yep, did it. That's what's next. And it just makes it really simple for me. So highly recommend using a digital planner so that you can set recurring appointments or recurring reminders or recurring tasks. I really love Google because you can color coordinate everything. You can schedule it down to like the 5 minutes, or you can go absolutely crazy with it. You can also have multiple calendars within one calendar. So for example, I have one calendar for my kids' schedules, which I've also shared with my ex so that he's able to see like what days my son has school or all of that kind of stuff, right? When they're in an extracurricular activity or like everything. So that's all on the kids' schedule. Then I have a schedule for the different programs that I run. So I have one for the Chrysalis Incubator. I have like a different calendar completely for that one. I have a different calendar for pretty much any program that I run, right? I have a calendar specifically for different programs that I'm in. And then I have my personal one, and then I also have my work one. So I have and I have bigger chunks of my day where it's like, okay, this is a work time, this is a personal time, this is spend time with the kids time. And then I have like those calendars, they all overlap. So if you turn them on, you can see them all at once and you can see how everything is kind of flowing together, and then you can move things around really easy. So I really love Google Calendar for that. And yeah, so having a calendar for each part of my life is what has really made that more simple for me. And then I can uncheck all the calendars I don't want to look at and only see the really simple layout for my business stuff. Or I can uncheck everything and only see what's going on with the kids that day or whatever. So I can pick and choose what views I'm looking at, and has been really helpful for me. If you do not like to follow a schedule, if that doesn't work for you, then absolutely would say that like time blocking, like just having like, okay, the first 4 hours of the day while I'm the most, clear-minded, my brain is rested, whatever, that's when I work. And then the next 4 hours of the day, me and the kids go do an activity. And then the next 4 hours of the day is like maintaining the house, cooking food, like prepping food, whatever the case may be, right? And just keeping it really loose like that so that you know what your focus is at any given time of the day. And then just having your list somewhere of things that you need to get done so that when you're at that time, you can be like, okay, what's on that list? What's on that list? My other favorite technique is the Pomodoro method. And this one is not at all just my method. It's really, really common actually. And it is highly used in ADHD circles, in time management spaces, all of that. So I like time blocking, but within that, in order to keep my focus, to stay on track when I'm struggling with that, because sometimes I'm like really focused and I'm great. And then sometimes I'm like squirrel, right? And I'm all over the place. So when I'm all over the place, I am using the Pomodoro method. And this is 25 minutes of focus time, 5-minute break, 25 minutes of focus time, 5-minute break. And you repeat that a few times, and then eventually you have a 15-minute break in there, and so on. And then eventually when I'm like, hey, I'm done, like my energy is really, then I'll take like an hour break or whatever, or I'll just be done for the day. And getting to know your own energy and respecting it and following your own natural boundaries that way is really important as well. But the Pomodoro method is really, really good with ADHD. It's like, okay, I only have to focus for 25 minutes. And that is way less stressful than like, okay, I'm going to work for the next 4 hours, right? You can still work for the next 4 hours, but you should be taking breaks anyways. You need to go, bathroom break, get some water, all of the things, right? So using those 5 minutes, and sometimes when I'm like super extra productive, I use my 5-minute windows. I do take a break from sitting down and working. I get up, I move, but I'll usually use it for something like laundry. Like I'll go start a load because I'm at home, right? So I'm switching up the activity, which gives my brain that break. I'm moving my body, which gives my body the break from sitting still. And I still am accomplishing something. Knowing the things that you can fit into your 5-minute windows, if you like to be that kind of over the top like me, is also very helpful. So yeah, I think that kind of covers the organization, staying on track, all of that. And really just to take it like a little bit deeper, having your big goals and breaking it down into those pieces so that you know what to do every day is really helpful, really important. And that is a method that I teach consistently. So I am actually thinking about offering those as like individual sessions with people instead of running my quarterly mini mind thing. I don't know. I think it might help with just being a little bit more focused on one person. So if you're interested in that, let me know and we can chat. Okay. My next question that I had ADHD friendly ways to market and stay on track with the boring things in our businesses, and how to stay consistent when our brain says hell no. So, okay, there's a couple of angles to this question that I want to address. And one is that if you love your business, if you want to have a business, it's a little bit of like not mind over matter, but just choosing, right? You need to choose that you're going to do the things that suck because you know that they have to be done. And sometimes I find that actually digging into like sitting with it and just like, why am I resisting this so much? And once you find the answer to that, like if it's like, okay, well, I just, being on social media to post stresses me out, gets my anxiety going, and I don't want to be on there as much. And so I resist marketing. I resist posting, or like, if that's what your boring thing is, whatever your boring thing is, right? And if you know that that's the case, first of all, it's okay, right? You want to respect yourself. You want to respect your body, your mind, your spirit, all of it, to say, okay, I don't enjoy doing that. I know it causes me anxiety, and I'm going to choose to minimize that piece. So figuring out, like, taking away any of the fluff, taking the time to sit with it and like, is anything that I'm doing fluff? Is there any of it that is just a waste of time? That is, I get sidetracked really easily and then I get stuck in the scroll. Another really great way to manage that is setting a timer. Again, you then know that there's an end in sight, right? So you just go until that timer goes off and then you stop and you let that be enough. And that is okay. And I consistently do that one personally when it comes to like posting and engaging and all of that kind of stuff. I can get really carried away. In fact, Facebook keeps on blocking me from commenting because I get so carried away. I just love talking to people. Like, I'm a very social being. So for me, I enjoy that part, but I still, again, I use the timer because it's like, okay, I know that I don't need to be doing more than this much time, and anything beyond that is extra. And so what I will do is I have my priorities for where I want to post, where I want to engage, all of that kind of thing. Those ones get done first while I'm on my timer. And then if I have extra time and I have the energy for it, or I want to continue, but only if, and I allow myself to stop otherwise. I really should have asked what specifically this person was finding boring in their business, because then I could have been a little bit more specific. But ADHD friendly ways to market. I have a spreadsheet. I list out the places that I post. I list out the days of the week. I have my list of posts for the week or whatever. And then I like color code so that I can mix and match all over the place. I'm not posting the exact same thing. Color coding I find is really friendly for my brain, but ADHD friendly, everybody has a different type of ADHD, different ways of managing their ADHD. So with this one, again, it depends on, what kind of ADHD we're talking about. Like if you are the highly distractible type, and not that I'm not distractible, because I totally am, but there are a lot of the time I'm more on like the hyper focused side than the highly distractible. But if you are more distractible, having like that master list really to go back to and say, okay, what am I supposed to be doing right now? What am I supposed to be doing right now? And bringing yourself back into like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And consistently reminding yourself, but also giving yourself grace. Acknowledging that your brain works differently and that finding a different way to work is acceptable. And so if you work best by jumping from task to task to task to task, what you want to do is pick like your, say, 5 focuses at once, and then be able to kind of shift between those 5 things. If you really need it to just be one thing and you like need that hyper focus, you need the blinders on, then scheduling your work hours around times where there will be no distractions, right? Like just, and choosing how we're going to run our businesses is one of the biggest bonuses of being an entrepreneur, of running of owning a business, right? Because nobody gets to tell us how to do it. And there is no, like, yes, there are times that are ideal for posting on social media. Yes, there are certain things that make the algorithm work for you instead of against you. I'm not going to deny that because I have seen evidence of it forever. I've gotten pretty good at working with it until they change it every time, of course. But yeah, so creating your business in a way that lights you up, that makes you enjoy it more, is is so, so important. And with the boring things, the other thing with that, of course, when you're at the point in business where you're ready, is to hire out the things you don't like to do. You can pretty much hire out anything. And even that can be like what really drives you sometimes in the beginning, is like, okay, I want to get to the point where I'm able to take that task off my plate. And so that's like your big driving force goal kind of thing. But I had originally a guest, like a joint live planned for today. And so I decided to continue with my Q&A. I didn't like make any notes about this. I'm going off the top of my head because that is actually how I work better. When I have notes, I get very like clunky. So that's okay. So my next question then is, this one is very similar to the first question with keeping on track in all areas of life, but especially business. So this one is scheduling client and family life and organizing, getting distracted, and then ending up a mess again. So with that, my guess is that this person is not an overscheduler like me. So the more I schedule, the easier it is for me. But for a lot of people, you need that white space in your calendar, right? You need to be able to say like, okay, I have this one thing happening at say 1 o'clock. And so I'm not going to schedule anything for 2 hours before and 2 hours after. And that's fine. And it's not like you have to sit there and twiddle your thumbs during those 2 hours. It's just, you don't schedule something else because you need to give yourself that leeway. You need to give yourself the distractibility time, right? You need to give yourself the room, and also setting reminders. I set reminders like crazy. They are dinging all day long. My kids get driven crazy by them, but when I don't have those reminders, like I would forget to go live. Even if it was scheduled at the same time every week like these are, I would forget. I would totally forget. I would get like hyper-focused into creating some piece of content or writing a blog post or whatever, and then be like, shit, I totally missed it. And so to be reliable as a business owner, which is obviously super important, whether you're ADHD or not, having those reminders is super, super helpful. Having the white space on either side of every event, of every task, of every appointment and everything, so that there's room for error, right? There's a little bit of space either way. Super helpful. Again, with the time blocking method as well, if you have like, okay, this time of day is for business, this time of day is for family, this time of day is for maintaining the house, cooking, etc. And that can also be really helpful. So then it's like, okay, you know, your family knows so they don't distract you as much. You know, so that your brain is like, okay, this is what I'm focusing on right now. When you're trying to juggle, you know, making sure that you don't forget to switch that load of laundry to the dryer, when you're trying to juggle feeding the kids 1,000 snacks a day, when you're trying to juggle client calls and all of these things all at once, your brain can't figure out what to focus on. And when that happens, it just like you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay, when you are trying to do all of the things at once, you are setting yourself up for failure. And that sounds accusatory, and I don't mean it to, but you can choose, right? You choose how you're going to set up your life, and learning new ways to set it up and trying them out, and then maybe they don't work and you switch to a new method and whatever, like that's okay. It's okay to change your plan. And just the best way that, like I always say, there's a specific order that you should, and I don't like the word should, and I always say like stop shoulding on yourself, but the best way that you should organize your day is taking care of yourself first, having time being present with your kids next, cleaning up your area, your space, so that like visual distractions are minimized, and then getting down to like the work and everything. And you know, if you have a partner, if you have a husband, whatever, obviously it's important to spend time being present with him as well. But usually if they work outside the home or something like that, then you're scheduling that later in the evening. So for the mom who stays home with her young kids, that's the order that I 100% recommend. It works the best. I've tried them all, I promise. And my clients have tried different ways too, right? This is not just a stereotypical time for self-care. Like, it is fill your cup until it runs over, and then use that excess to fill your kids' cups until they run over. And then they're not going to be so needy and all over you when you need time to focus. okay? And cleaning your home and cooking and all of that stuff should not be optional. And so doing that first is important. Then it's that much less in your brain. It's that much less for you to worry about remembering to go do, right? And again, like I was saying, the visual distractions, it's important. So doing that before working again. And all of this seems counterintuitive because we have had it pounded into us our entire lives in our culture that work comes before play, that you need to work, you need to get your work done, all of this kind of stuff. And that's not to say that you don't, and that's not to say that you shouldn't work or that you shouldn't, meet the deadlines that you set and stuff like that. You absolutely should. But we actually meet them faster, and we actually enjoy our work more when we do things in the other order. And especially with ADHD, if you are playing first and working later, your brain has had a chance to focus on those other fun things that it wants to focus on. It has had a chance to be calm and quiet and not overwhelmed during self-care. Say you meditate or whatever. It has, you've moved your body if you're including exercise in your self-care time. All of these things. And your kids, like I said, you fill their cup first. They know that they're important to you. They get their needs met, and they become much more independent. I promise you this. And then they are not to say they never interrupt, because they do, but it is way, way less frequently when they've had their needs met. So that is the order I highly recommend, is just keeping, and like in detail what you do in those times, totally up to you. But self-care, present time with your kids, clean up the house, even if it's just a quick tidy, prep any food you need to or whatever, something that's going to make it so that getting dinner on the table by a time that's going to make the rest of your evening flow smoothly works better. Hugely helpful. And then your mind is just cleared of all these different things that you wanted to get done that day, and you're able to just sit down and work. And the key thing to remember here is that work will expand to fill the time that you give it. We will never run out of work. Okay, there's always something to do. There is always more to get done. There are always more people to talk to, more potential clients, more leads, whatever you want to call them, to talk to, more promotion you can do, all of it. It's never ending. And so if you give it 12 hours of your day, it will fill that 12 hours. If you give it 2 hours of your day, it will fill that 2 hours. And if you make it only 2 hours, and I'm not saying make it only 2 hours, that's totally up to you and up to your business. But if you only give it a couple of hours of your day, you are going to work on the most important things in those couple of hours, because this is the only chance I get to do this. And so you're going to be way less likely to be sidetracked than if you're trying to keep yourself focused for 12 hours, right? Of course you're not going to focus for 12 hours. Even non-ADHD people are not going to focus for 12 hours. You're just not. So cut back your work time, make it more intentional. Do your top key needle moving tasks first during your work time. And then if you have free time and what you feel like doing is work, I am like this, go ahead, right? As long as you have also done something for your pure enjoyment, for your self-care, all of that kind of stuff is all done first. Then when you have free time, you really have free time. You've done everything else you need to do, and you get to do whatever the hell you want. So that is what I recommend for scheduling and organizing, because there's really nothing to get distracted from, right? You time chunk, and you know what you're working on during that time, and it can be anything to do with self-care, anything with your kids, anything around your house. It doesn't matter which ones, as long as you're doing something in that category. Okay, so that is best recommendation there. And really the last question that I had falls very similarly. They're all similar questions, because really time management for ADHD is it's top of mind for all of us, especially running a business. So time management and motivation is the last question. And so I've spoken quite a bit to time management. So I'm going to talk a little bit about motivation, and then I'm just going to wrap up. And some people are going to disagree with me on this one. Motivation is not a thing. Motivation isn't real. Motivation doesn't last. You can't count on motivation. You're welcome. Goodbye. No, just joking. You can't, though. Motivation is like your fickle friend, right? Sometimes you are highly motivated, and sometimes you have no motivation whatsoever. Now, instead of motivation, it's being dedicated. It's prioritizing. It's having a why that really matters to you. So if you rely completely on motivation, you are going to struggle. You are going to have these ups and downs that are like massive hills and valleys, right? And you are going to be so unreliable for yourself, for others, for clients, for your family. Motivation just doesn't cut it. Okay. Being really determined, being really decided. And the way to get really determined and decided is to know your why. So this is where my passion comes in, right? My like talking about purpose and having a big vision and having something that really pulls you forward in life. And when I say pulls you forward, that is when you're not motivated, you're still moving forward because you believe in it so much. You care about it so much. And if you struggle with finding your why, if you're not sure why, if you're just like, well, I just want to make some money, that is not going to motivate you. It's not going to motivate you. Money doesn't motivate us. It doesn't matter how badly you want it. It doesn't matter how broke you are. Money doesn't motivate you. Guaranteed. Not consistently. Anyway, I'm trying to think what's like the best. So there's a couple of things. One, and Caitlin Signorelli, she's in this group, is an expert with this. And I love talking to her about it, but she talks a lot about energy cycles and our energy cycles as women, our energy cycles as ADHD women, and moon cycles, physical, hormonal cycles, like all of it. And I love, love, love when she talks about this because it is such a powerful tool to use alongside your ADHD if you want to run a business. So if you ever want to learn more about that, I highly, highly recommend talking to her. I can talk a little bit to it because I've talked to her, but it's not my area of expertise. All I know is that every month we have times in the month, and it's not necessarily just like, oh yeah, I got my period, right? You have times in the month where your body, your hormones, your cycles are all synced up for you to plan, to be figuring things out, sorting out problems. It's a lot of mental work and less of like the go, go, go and do. And then there are times in the month where you could not think through something for anything, and you are literally just checking off the boxes. You need to already have that list and just be able to say, yep, done it, yep, done it, yep, done it. Just follow the list, right? And you're very like go, go, go and motivated that way. And then there are times where we're very creative and flowy and all of that. And so especially as women, and this is where like, if you follow men in business, not that there's anything wrong with men in business, that sounded terrible. But if you follow men in business, they do business differently for a reason. They do not have the same hormone cycles as we have. They do not have even, I think, the same pull from the moon as we do as women. And, a lot of people might look at that, and men certainly have looked at that, a weakness for women, but it's not. Again, with like the ADHD is your superpower, using these cycles, superpower. Utilizing it so that you have all your planning done when you're in a planning phase is like, it is powerful, you guys. So that helps a lot with time management as well, because if you align your tasks with your cycles so that you are doing things that feel really good to you all the time, even though what feels good to you changes throughout the month. Yeah, super, super powerful. It also really takes the motivation out of the question because or out of the equation, because you are doing what literally your body is telling you to do at that time. And so right then you're going to be motivated to create, or you're going to be motivated to check off the list, or you're going to be motivated to plan. And that doesn't mean that we don't sometimes have to do tasks that are outside of our, wanting in that moment, but that helps a lot with the motivation. I have not nailed this perfectly, but I did start implementing it a little bit after learning from Caitlin. So very, very helpful that way. But again, I don't believe in motivation. I don't think that motivation matters. I think that having a why that really, really deeply matters to you is what is going to pull you forward. And so again, this is beyond wanting to make money. This is beyond even wanting to stay home with your kids. Wanting to stay home with your kids is a pretty good one. Wanting to be there as they grow up, like super, super important. Personal value of mine, I think moms should stay home with their kids. I don't think it's really okay for moms to work outside the home. And that's pretty like call outy. I get that. But kids need their moms. That's how I feel about it. And so, but with that, like, I am still very, very for empowering women. And so having a dream, having a purpose beyond your kids, 100%. I totally do. I think it's really important that we are home and present with our kids, but I also think it's possible to have that big dream. So, and to make it happen now and not wait until your kids are older. So if you're struggling with your why, this was the other thing I was going to say. 7 layers deep is an exercise. I know that it was a Tony Robbins thing, and I know that he does have it like as a quiz that you can do, but I've heard it from different sources as well. So I'm not sure where it originated from first, but it's an exercise where you say, or you ask yourself why what you're focusing on matters. Okay, so if you're saying, okay, I want to build this business because I want to make enough money to support me and my kids as a single mom. Why is that important to me is your next question. And then, okay, well, because I don't want to have to rely on a man to provide for me. Cool. Why is that important to you? And you keep on asking yourself, and you work your way down through at least 7 layers. Sometimes you go far until you get to like, oh, that's the real reason why. And it might be something like, I want to prove my horrible father wrong, who said that I couldn't do anything in life. It might be like whatever the case may be, but your deep why is really going to give you that motivation much more than just like the surface level. I want to make money. I want to work for myself, all of that kind of stuff. So those things are important, but they're not the deep ones that are going to really pull you forward when you don't have motivation, because we all lose motivation sometimes. 100%. Okay. And I highly recommend, and even if you don't have ADHD, a lot of these methods will work for anybody, but I highly recommend watching both of these. They're very like different format than what I usually do, but the whole Q&A thing, and you'll get like the real response from me that way, right? I have at least one website that I can send you to for self-diagnosis. And I recommend self-diagnosis at first because a lot of the time medical doctors are like resisting it, right? And so like this is something I hear so often, that women have gone, and especially with women, because it shows up differently in women than it does in men, but that they've gone to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, it's depression. And I talked about this last week, that ADHD and depression can get confused a lot. I actually, like, my absolute best friend in the world, she was on depression medications, like all kinds of different ones, and like so up and down, and mood swings and horrible depression and all of this stuff, while they tried to figure out a good dose or the right meds and all of this stuff. And it ended up that she has ADHD, and they finally got her on ADHD meds, and she is doing amazing. And it was like instant. And I'm not even saying that you need to be on meds if you have ADHD, but like the two get confused a lot. So when it comes to getting a diagnosis, actually my doctor is amazing. And yeah, my doctor actually said that the easiest way for her to diagnose me with ADHD was for me to self-diagnose first, come in and be like, here's my results, and then she would be able to take it forward from there a lot more easily. So that is, and I'm not sure like what the evaluation for ADHD, the testing that was horrendous, was for you. That sounds terrible. I have not experienced that personally, and I don't know if there's like different methods that different doctors do, but I absolutely do have a website, and I can send it to you after this. I'm pretty sure I have the website. I'm sure I can find it, but I will send you the website where you can self-diagnose if you need that. And then you can take that to a doctor and say like, and it's the website that my doctor recommended. So it's not like just some random person like typed up a quiz about ADHD. Like it's an actual self-diagnosis site, and then you can take that to a doctor. Computer-based focus test for 15 minutes stands. Crazy memory test for anyone. Complex math off the top of your head. What? That has nothing to do with ADHD. I'm sorry. That's terrible. That's terrible. Like, there are still differences between people with ADHD. There are people who are math whizzes. There are people who are not. Like, I suck at math. Do I think it has to do with my ADHD? No. Like, maybe because I sometimes am just like, I don't even care to figure it out. Like, I don't want to try, but I'm going to be a fighter pilot. That is terrible. That's horrible. I don't know if that's the same with like, I know that I didn't get put through that, but that's, like I said, I have a really good doctor. Like, so good that I go to a different city to see her even though I don't live there anymore, because I'm like, I don't want to find a new doctor. Ugh. Oh, that's brutal. I could see like the focus tests being a thing. Memory tests, like, I don't know. I mean, I am not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist, whatever, like whatever would look at that, but that does sound terrible. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. So with that, did you get a diagnosis? Or like, did that come to nothing for you? Like, that's, I'm super curious about that. And you don't have to share, sorry, you don't have to share in the comments. You can, okay, not yet. Man, it makes me so upset, the imbalance between like men and women with ADHD. So, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That's terrible. And I know that like it is very common. It is very common for it to be terrible. I'm really sorry that's the way it is. I think, like, I will absolutely send you, I'm going to write it down because I'll forget, but I will absolutely send you that website so that you can self-diagnose, because even just a self-diagnosis is like, I find it to be a relief. Like, I know some people get stressed out by the diagnosis, but to me, knowing like, no matter what the case is, no matter what the subject matter, knowing the answer is all I need. I can deal with anything. I can wrap my mind around anything. I can overcome any problem. But if I don't know what the answer is, it stresses me the flip out. So yes, yeah, I will absolutely do that, because that's so frustrating. I'm so sorry. It will help if you want, and like the only real reason to go in for an official diagnosis is if you think you need to have ADHD meds to be able to manage. And there's no judgment about that. Absolutely, some people need it, and that's okay. I don't personally use meds, but that is like I said, I am very much the hyper side, not the distractible side. And I think like, and this is a personal opinion, not a medical thing, but I think that for people who are like the more distractible type, medication is very, very helpful for the focus. And I also think for when it comes to the depression piece, right? Because ADHD absolutely linked to depression. Like, depression happens so much more if you have ADHD. But yes, you're right. Absolutely. Knowing helps give your brain what it needs to succeed, right? If you have the knowledge, you can do anything with that knowledge. We are so powerful. We have so much in us, but not knowing is really hard. And so, yeah, I will absolutely send you them so that you can self-diagnose, so that you can just like take those steps, right? Just move forward, because it's just, I hate waiting. Impatience, very much impatience with the ADHD. But yeah, so, okay. Yeah, I will absolutely send that out to you though. I know that's like that's such a common thing, and it's heartbreaking. Like, we should not have to fight so hard to get a diagnosis. Unfortunately, it is the way it is, right? Like it is very, very common and not okay. It's not okay. So ladies, thank you for being here with me today. I appreciate your time as always. I value your time highly. So thank you very, very much, and love you all. Oh, that is, I almost forgot. So if you didn't see my post, I started a membership, a very low cost membership for moms in business. When you're starting out in business, or when you've been trying to get your business off the ground for a while and you're not getting anywhere, or you don't have the capital to invest in coaching, all of that kind of stuff. So it's basically going to be a coaching membership for women, moms with or without ADHD who are starting out in business and just need like some of that basic support. So I'll talk about all kinds of things, such as the like systems, the platforms, what things you actually should pay for versus what you shouldn't, like all of that kind of stuff. The stuff that I had a really hard time getting answers to when I first started out is going to be the focus in there. And it will also be very tailored to the questions that I'm getting from the members in the membership. So if you're interested in that and you're watching the replay or you're watching right now, drop me a membership in the comments, and I'll get you all the details for that. It is super, super low cost. Regularly, it will be $17 a month. Right now, for the entire month of February, while I kick it off, and just to really make it like it's a no-brainer. It's $7 a month, so less than $10 a month. And it is going to be super, super high value because I am sick and tired of how hard it is for mompreneurs to get going. That's really what it is. So yeah.